What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Post Pro Podcast. This is episode 10. Episode 10, we made it to double digits. Post Pro Podcast, incredible.
Hey, we're also on the longest streak of the same returning cast ever.
We are.
So,
We're doing pretty good.
round of applause for us. Round of applause.
Hell yeah.
We got the final four here. All right, so let's just go right into it. Artemis Fowl comes out tomorrow. Reviews have come out already, and it's looking pretty good.
Yeah, it's not looking great.
Our hypothesis was right.
It's like taking a 90-10 betting odds, right? I mean, like, if it was good, then just like they did it. But here's Disney butchering another beloved child series. So
I literally just watched Chris Duckman's review before we started here. That's why I was like, "Hey, give me 10 minutes," and he gave it an F. He said,
wow.
He said top 10 worst live-action Disney films of all time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Do you guys know like the actual plot to Artemis Fowl, like the book series?
I did read the books. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
I never read the books.
I haven't read them, but I was like watching some YouTube videos yesterday because I was just bored in bed, and like it actually sounds dope. And when you look at it, it makes sense on why this movie is so like bad without us even having seen it, right? Like just a trailer, the character itself is supposed to be like an anti-villain that kids can like watch and be like, this is the protagonist, but he's a bad guy. Or in the case of the books, they read it and they're just transforming it into just being the good guy, just in general. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I from just Chris Duckman's review, which is all I've really saw, other than some other like reviews that came out, he said that the movie he had no idea what was going on literally the entire time. And apparently the lead, the kid, it's his first role ever.
Oh my god.
And
really?
I mean,
for like a Disney movie? That's so weird.
Yeah.
For $125 million budget.
If you do that with like a good director, right, like Roman Griffin Davis and Taika Waititi and Jojo Rabbit, then it can work. But
I mean,
that's
Kenneth
much more
Branagh
common.
is it? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Kenneth Branagh directed it. He's an established director. He's made some good stuff.
All right.
I
feel like
don't think they really cared, honestly.
Yeah, and it's much
too.
less common for like huge tentpole like studio like blockbusters to be like, this is this person's first role ever.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for Disney when they have like a bunch of kid actors.
Oh yeah. That's crazy. There was also like he wasn't as into the film itself, so he didn't have the passion to like really drive the child. Like I can imagine Taika Waititi being like the most fun guy to be with on set.
Well, apparently Kenneth Branagh was apparently like the fourth director to come in because this movie back in 2017 or something, or 2018, came out a long time ago.
New Mutants for Disney Plus.
Wait, what?
Probably.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, if they didn't have any faith in Artemis Fowl, I still don't know why they have faith in New Mutants to perform at the box office.
Exactly, yeah. I don't know. We'll see what happens. What if New Mutants blows us all away and it's a masterpiece?
Yeah. Who knows?
Oh, that'd be great.
I doubt it.
Yeah, so
we'll see. I don't think that New Mutants. I think there's a chance New Mutants won't be like the worst thing in the world, but it's just
no. I don't think it will either. I think it'll be fine, but yeah.
I think it's just gonna be okay.
It's got a better chance of. It's got a good chance of being better than Dark Phoenix,
as long as it doesn't destroy its source material. I mean,
they are making it a horror movie.
Yeah, but there's still comics like that. I don't know what comic it's based on. There is a New Mutants comic.
Yeah, it's based off New Mutants, but like the New Mutants isn't really a horror comic, so we shall see what happens with the movie. I'm curious. I'm really curious to see it. I am. I've wanted to see it. When the first trailer dropped, I was slightly curious. I'm like, oh, this is an interesting direction to go with a superhero movie, and that just never came out.
I thought the same thing. I even liked the initial poster that came out. So obviously I'm not expecting much now because it's been so long, but there's a slight hope inside.
Well, and that was also before Disney bought Fox, so they could have done a lot more with it, but it doesn't really matter now because it's going to go nowhere. If they even leave it open for a sequel, it's not going to get a sequel. So it's just kind of a shame.
You never know. You never
know.
Yeah.
All right, we got the next piece of news.
I thought this was kind of interesting. I saw that Sigourney Weaver she came out and said she received a treatment for a new Alien film a little while ago, but turned it down because she said Ripley deserves a rest, which I completely agree. I don't think they should bring back.
I haven't seen a single Alien film, so this is outside my wheelhouse.
Yeah, I don't want to see any more from the Alien franchise, and I also don't want to see any more Ellen Ripley for the time being. So
yeah, I mean, not really.
There is an argument, I guess, for, since Resurrection and Alien 3 were pretty bad. So like the argument could be she wants to go on a high note, her character goes on a high note. But then again, that means they'd have to either retcon those movies or bring her back.
And then this just brings us back to a couple episodes ago. All I want is Neil Blomkamp's Alien 5. That's all I want. That's it. It's simple. And it's like, even she was on board for that too. That's what's kind of sad.
Oh, really? Okay, I didn't know that.
No, dude, they were like, that was greenlit. That was like gonna happen. And then because of Mr. Scott coming in and going, you know what? I'm gonna start doing movies again, and him doing all of the Prometheus and Alien Covenant. That movie was shelved, but it was definitely like gonna happen.
Yeah, I want Neil Blomkamp to do something. He hasn't done.
He's been quiet. The last thing he did was the really awful Anthem like cinematic, which everyone probably forgot about. But he did like a 10-minute like he did. That's the last thing he did was I just followed the saga of that awful game. But like he did the like cinematic like movie for it, which was like 10 minutes long. That is the last thing he did, which was 2 years ago now, probably.
Probably 2 years ago. Yeah, because he came out with those string of short films. Some of them were good. Some of them were not good, but yeah.
He also
quiet.
Didn't he do? This is just my brain going off. Didn't he do a Halo one?
Yes, I think that was like really early on.
Because that was all. Yeah, I do remember that. It was really sick. And yeah, no, I miss him. Like
actually, maybe not really early on. I think it was like after Elysium.
I think it might have been like for Halo 4 or Halo 5. It was one of the two. But no, dude, he is such a talented filmmaker, and District 9 is aged really, really well. And like, I don't really mind any of his movies. I thought Chappie was okay. I thought Elysium was pretty good, but District 9 is like, it's like a modern classic at this point, in my opinion.
I'm not a fan of Chappie, but I do like Elysium and District 9.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of them, so
yeah, I have to look at the director.
District 9, honestly,
it's good. It's really good.
It's kind of relevant now thinking about it. It tackles a lot of like social issues and stuff.
You could say Elysium's kind of relevant as well.
Yeah, it's about like rich people. Honestly, you guys should give him a shot sometime. Really good director. I miss him.
And speaking of relevant topics, this is the last thing I had written down. I just literally saw it right before we started. Apparently, HBO Max has removed Gone with the Wind from their roster, their movie roster.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
Like, so I understand what they're doing, but in my opinion, because they said they were going to bring it back onto the platform afterward, like after everything settles down. I say, like, if you do something like that, either take it off for good or just keep it on.
Yeah.
Or like actually do something, like contribute money or like start a charity instead of just like we're taking one movie off. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just it's such a weird movement that doesn't really mean anything.
It's a very weird. Okay, I mean, I'm not going to get into politics or anything here, but like, it's a very interesting angle because I mean, Gone with the Wind is a very iconic movie, and it is very like well known. So for them to just kind of like take it off because of like racial issues going on right now is a little weird to me.
Well, they did release. They like part of the statement they released was once they bring it back, there's going to have like some sort of disclaimer detailing its historical and cultural relevancy and significance and impact and stuff. Because I mean, technically it's like one of the highest grossing films of all time.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was critically acclaimed. Has the first curse word in a movie. I think the most interesting part of this was that after it got removed, it's topped Amazon's sellers list.
Huh.
So
that is interesting.
Yeah.
All I'm ready for is the remove Gone with the Wind, add Birth of the Nation.
Yeah.
You can watch Birth of the
Nation. Be a great movie.
Canopy, I think.
Yeah, sweet. I'm not that interested in that.
3.5 hours. I should see it. I just want to see it. just to see it, just to say.
Yeah, it is an important part of like filmmaking and history, but it's definitely not something that's top of my list.
No, yeah, definitely.
Me neither.
Not only because of its subject material, but because of its length. Honestly.
Yeah, its length, and like silent films can get boring, right? Like they definitely can be there, but like Broken Blossoms, I think I like more than you too.
Oh yeah, I really did not like them.
Yeah, I mean, but even that was like an hour and a half, and I was still getting bored sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so I guess that wraps up movie news unless anyone else has anything.
All right.
All right, so let's move on to what we watched this week. Do we want to do what we did last time? Whoever had the list. I think I had 9.
I have 9 too.
I was gonna say I think I have like 10 maybe.
Or let's reverse it. Most to least. Let's do most to least. Let's most to least. Oh shit. We'll do Noah, Colin, me, Sebastian.
That works.
Unless Sebastian's watched 10.
Really
I watched 8.
Nice.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so I guess I'll just go first then.
Yeah.
So I started this week off with The Limey, which is a Steven Soderbergh movie starring Terrence Stamp and Louise Guzman. Pretty solid. It's a noir where the premise is like Terrence Stamp is a Brit who, it's like a revenge noir where his daughter was like died under mysterious circumstances. So Terrence Stamp goes to LA to investigate and or get revenge. It's pretty short, actually. I think a lot of Soderbergh movies are honestly like under 100 minutes, especially some of his underseen films like this one. But I mean, it's pretty good. I don't know. Like, it's also really funny because like the entire bit is like nobody in the movie can understand what he's saying a lot of the time, both because he has a heavy accent and because he's just speaking in like slang and Cockney rhyming. So it's funny. It's well edited. It has a really interesting editing style, like Thomas was saying last week with like the non-diegetic, sound,
bleeding dialogue.
Yeah, but it also does that where like it leads into flashbacks and out of. It's pretty different from a lot of other of his movies where it's a little more, just like flashbacky basically. And like I said, it's not really that violent. Like it doesn't show that much blood, but it is like a revenge film, so it's fun. And then I rewatched Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, which, like 6 out of 10, I don't know. I don't really have a lot to say about that movie. It's fine. It was definitely better than I guess I had thought it might be. But it's probably, I don't know. I was going to say my least favorite of the first 3, but like it's about tied with Dead Man's Chest. I don't know. And then I rewatched Interstellar, which I think is a perfect movie and Nolan's best movie.
Really?
It's up there with me. I think The Dark Knight, Inception, and Interstellar are all like pretty perfect.
I was just about to say, like, I think those 3 are like, I there's nothing to critique in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm gonna be starting my Christopher Nolan marathon here soon, probably
me
like
too.
a week or so.
Oh, yeah, really?
Yeah.
So I'm excited to go through them all again.
Tenet is like last week of July, basically, right?
Well, that's if they keep it.
17th is the 17th is what they're aiming for.
Oh, okay.
So mid-July.
Yeah, I just honestly really haven't been paying attention because, like, I assume they're gonna push it back, but at this point, like, it's a month away, so they might not.
Yeah.
Apparently, the runtime has been announced. It's not official yet, but the unofficial runtime is 3 hours 15 minutes.
Oof.
So, did we not talk about that? I feel like I learned about that like a couple weeks ago.
I think we maybe mentioned it last week.
Yeah.
Maybe
mentioning it.
I think I texted it to you, Sebastian, or
yeah, that's what it was. You texted me. Yeah.
Sure, that makes sense. What was I? Oh yeah, I mean about Interstellar. I think the main thing about, I mean, like honestly, this is just like a personal thing. I really like Inception and The Dark Knight, but my main thing about Inception is just like it's a really good action movie, and a lot of the Leonardo DiCaprio stuff I don't really love per se. And with The Dark Knight, kind of like the opposite, where like Joker is the most interesting character in that movie, and like especially in the last half hour when he really kind of disappears, I feel like I'm just kind of waiting for the movie to end. Like I still like it, but I just think that Heath Ledger's so, like he really steals the movie whenever he's on screen, and you're always just kind of like waiting for him to appear next. And then when you know he's not really going to be in the rest of the movie, I don't know, it's just kind of not even disappointing really, just like I feel like Interstellar is very consistent in a way that The Dark Knight maybe is not, at least for me.
Okay.
So I mean, that's
fair.
why I like it the best. Really.
That's fair.
Yeah, and honestly, like it really is just personal preference. And then I watched another Soderbergh movie, Haywire, which again, like 90 minutes. It's like a spy thriller starring Gina Carano, who I've never heard of, and also like Ewan McGregor, Michael Fassbender, Bill Paxton, who I have heard of. It is also like a 6, maybe 7 out of 10, honestly. But I mean, it's probably my least favorite Soderbergh. It's just like a decent spy thriller, I guess, but it's not very interesting.
Rip Bill Paxton.
Yeah, he was in a lot of good movies. I don't know how many movies he was in, but like a lot of like huge movies.
Game Over, man.
No?
Was he in that? Huh.
Yeah, he was. That's like his most iconic line from Aliens.
Yeah.
Game over, man. Game over.
If you say so. I guess. I don't know. I mean, I've only seen the movie once, so.
Yeah, he was in Aliens. Yeah.
No, I do remember that he was in that. That was a stupid question, but I guess I just don't associate that line with him. Okay, and then Moonlight, which
I adore that movie.
I liked. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't really think there's a lot to say about it. I think if you like it, you like it, and if you don't, you don't. I mean, I guess the one interesting thing about it is I was very surprised. This was the first time I had seen it, and I was very surprised by just like the entire third act. I mean, it's not necessarily the third act, but just like the third section of the movie.
Yeah.
Where it's like a much larger jump in time, and there isn't a satisfying conclusion, which I think, at least in my opinion, really elevates that movie. Because I think a lot of coming of age stories are just like, okay, it's this like 9 months in this one person's life, and they're going to learn a very concrete and specific lesson from a distinct series of events. And I think Moonlight really challenges that structure in an interesting way, in a way that I don't think I've seen before.
Yeah,
It's been a while since I've seen it. I've only seen it once, and it was right before the Oscars that year.
Sure.
And so I was really upset when La La Land lost, because I much preferred La La Land. I think Moonlight's still a fine movie. I just didn't like it as much.
We're pretty much reversed on that, because I am glad that Moonlight won, because I like La La Land, but I think that Moonlight is a superior picture. So yeah.
I will say on Moonlight that it's another film that really utilizes color well, and like how the main character's emotions and like how he's expressing them or repressing them. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, agreed. And then I watched a movie that I was surprised. It only has it's not that popular apparently, but it's Alfonso Cuarón's debut feature, Solo con tu pareja, which translates to Only with Your Partner. It's a really, honestly weird movie. I guess I've seen Prisoner of Azkaban, but I haven't seen any other Alfonso Cuarón movie. And it's like a bit of a weird movie, because it starts out as I forget how it starts out exactly, but it kind of shifts tones a lot, where at some points it's like a sex comedy, and then it's sort of the main characters are going to commit suicide, and it gets a lot more deep and intense, but it's still kind of funny, the ways that they're trying to commit suicide, and the dialogue. Well, I don't think it's perfectly.
You might want to chill out on that last sentence. The ways they're trying to commit suicide is pretty comical.
Well, he sticks his head in a microwave.
Look, Ma, that man's jumping off a bridge.
Come on, Thomas, have you seen Airplane?
That's very fair.
Thomas, if you saw someone sticking their head in a microwave and said, I'm about to commit suicide, I mean, that's pretty funny. And it never gets really... I don't think you're ever convinced that the movie is going to end with them committing suicide, so there aren't really any stakes in that way. And I think it's much easier to buy, suicide as comedy. I don't know. And also, this is, a weird trend that I've noticed. In Elizabethtown, which I don't think anyone here has seen, and also in Better Off Dead, there's, a weird, really inventive ways to commit suicide that's kind of played as comedy, and I don't think it really works in either of those movies, but I don't know. I thought it was kind of funny in this one.
Well, now I got a good thing I can put in the title for when we upload.
Wow.
Because the episode 10, thoughts on comical suicides.
Ways to get demonetized 101.
I don't know. I just and you definitely buy that like the character himself thinks it's funny, but like thinks it's serious. I mean, like he's like really going through grief, but it's played very comedically, and even the characters around him are reacting comedically.
Yeah.
Which he like communicates with like, I don't know, like a beeper or something. It wasn't really very clear. And then like he's like, I'm going to kill myself with a microwave. He like beeps or texts or whatever. And then like his friends are like at a party and they just like burst out laughing. And I don't know. I think it's pretty funny.
That is kind of funny. When you explain it that way. Yeah. A little more context.
And I mean, when I say like, suicide, it's very funny. Yeah.
I was memeing on you. No, I was memeing
No,
on
I
you.
get that. And then I watched Do the Right Thing, which wow. I mean, Thomas also, I believe you watched that this week, right?
I'll let you touch on your thoughts on it. I'll touch on mine in my room.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Honestly, I'm not sure that I have necessarily a lot of thoughts. I mean, first of all, I think the message behind it is very strong and coherent. And it's just such like a simple premise that I feel like plays out in like the best possible way. Like you just take like, it's the hottest day of the year and people are, going to get like more aggravated more easily because of that. And you're just like, all right, that's the premise. We're going to write a movie about that. And I just think that's, first of all, a very good premise. And second of all, I think the execution is basically perfect. It's really stylish. I really like the cinematography, especially in a lot of parts, how it was heightened and elevated. And there were like a lot of weird like Dutch angles. It was very intense in sections, but then it kind of slows down as well.
I really like those point of view shots he uses when they're little.
Yeah, that too. I just think a lot of it was great. I think the performances, especially from like Giancarlo Esposito, who was Bugging Out, and Bill Nunn, who was Radio, I think those two performances are like really incredible. And the one thing
even Sal is like, honestly, every performance in the film is pretty great.
But okay, this is what I was gonna say. Danny Aiello, who plays Sal, was the only person who was nominated for an acting performance, which is a little on the nose when you think about it.
Yeah, wow.
I mean, I think he's very good, but I'm not even really that mad about it because, like, obviously the Oscars have done much worse in those types of, like, the funny thing about Do the Right Thing is it was nominated for screenplay in a year that Driving Miss Daisy won Best Picture, which is like a very, like, it's basically like Green Book, I guess. I haven't actually seen either of those movies, but both of them, I believe, were like completely made by white people and are criticized for like how not good they are. And I think it's just funny that like Do the Right Thing, which is I think I mean, like, obviously it's easy to say it's prescient now, but I feel like even if I had seen it like a year ago, I would have felt it was prescient. It's just very funny to see how
you feel that that's a passion project too, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially because Spike Lee is like in it, but he's in it a weird amount where he's like almost the lead at the end, but he doesn't really show up for the first like 25 minutes or whatever.
I'd call him the lead in that film.
Yeah, I thought he was a lead too.
I mean, he's more the lead than anybody else is the lead.
Yeah.
I guess it's more just like
it could be seen as something like Magnolia. It jumps around a lot. There's a lot of characters. Yeah, it does follow him quite often.
I think of it more like Parasite, where it's really just like about like a group of people and how they interact. And like at the end, it's kind of like, oh yeah, it was really about this person the whole time, but at the same time, it kind of isn't. And it's really just about everyone.
That's a good comparison there. Because like Parasite, the dad could be mainly seen as the lead. I don't remember his name in specific, but in the end, it is his story it's revolving around. I like that. Good comparison there.
Thanks. Then I watched The Florida Project.
Beautiful film.
Yeah. So actually, the interesting thing about this is I was sort of like, oh, this is pretty good, but it's maybe like my least favorite A24, certainly towards the bottom, until like the last 20 minutes, which I think really sold me on the movie.
See, one of my least favorite parts of that movie is actually the ending itself, but everything besides the ending in that last 20 minutes is pretty spectacular.
Sure. I think I disagree a little bit. I mean, I definitely wasn't like disappointed by the ending. I don't know if it definitely wasn't my favorite part of the movie.
Sure.
But I mean, I definitely liked it. I don't know. I guess it's just like the ending that I got, and I wasn't really disappointed by it. So Like,
I don't know. I felt like the ending was particularly like the ending was just rushed.
Yeah.
It felt out of place for me.
Yeah, out of place is the main way I describe it there. Yeah. It felt like it was trying to drag a happy ending into a sad film.
I saw that as kind of like the point, though. It's like, oh, the last like 60 seconds of the movie are like, oh, and she escapes and everything is better and she goes to Disney World.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel necessary to me.
No, it doesn't. But I think like even Sean Baker himself said like, it's supposed to be a very ambiguous ending because this is the only like part of the film where we're only like seeing it through children's eyes. So,
okay. All right. I like that. Yeah, that's an incredibly beautiful film. It's so slow, and I found myself getting out of it a lot and getting bored at times. But then I just like look at the screen and just see the cinematography and just be astounded.
Yeah, that's
performances are also, I think, the best part of the movie. I think the
performances. Yeah. Oh man, yeah, especially the child performances in there too. They're so real.
Mm-hmm. I think the emotions they convey, especially like through the daughter and the mother. It's like angering, but it's purposeful. I remember seeing it in theaters, and I was like, God, it was driving me crazy because I was a mom.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's realistic.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a great film.
Yeah, I agree. And then I watched The Wailing earlier today. So that's it.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, shoot. I probably should have had my letterbox open. Okay.
God damn it, Colin, you unprofessional fuck.
Gee, excuse me. Coming a little hot there, Thomas. A little hostile. So this week I started off with a rewatch of American History X, another relevant film.
Yeah, I think we all had a relevant film this week.
Yeah, and American History X, it's honestly, it's a phenomenal movie. It's a great movie. Arguably, Edward Norton's best performance. It's powerful stuff.
Have you seen Primal Fear?
Yes. That's good too.
Yeah, those are two I'm really interested in. I'm really interested in his like early career because both those films are like really well received and both deal with topics that I think I'd enjoy. Just need to get around to them.
Yeah, this one's really interesting, and I think, it's been a while since I've seen it, but it's obviously really good. Filmmaking's really good. Cinematography, I love the black and white here and how color and black and white is used throughout the story and framed from non-linear storytelling, flashbacks, and all that stuff. It's good. Performances are great. I found it really interesting. I just watched Remember the Titans. I think it was last week, week before. And one of the football players in that movie, who is like one of the nicer, he's a white guy, but he has no problem hanging out with the black guys, which is what that movie is about, because it's the black kids come into the white school and, football team, So I thought it was interesting that kid in Remember the Titans, I made that sound really weird.
Football team,
Football team, because that's how football teams work.
That's an iconic line.
But anyway, so it was funny that he was sort of the middle ground character in Remember the Titans, where he was like this super racist neo-Nazi in American History X. I just thought that was kind of funny. He's really good in both, but this performance especially, I think right not too long after seeing Remember the Titans was like, oh shoot, that's a really good performance. Wow.
Yeah.
All the performances are great. And the ending is, it actually made me think of Do the Right Thing, because Do the Right Thing's ending, I've only seen that one once, but it's it doesn't choose sides. It's very nihilistic, and I would say it's kind of nihilistic in how its message is clear, but it's also not like in your face about either side it wants you to be on. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the ending of American History X goes in a completely different way than you would think it would, or that it leads up to especially. And so it kind of made me think. I was like, I've seen this one twice now. I've only seen Do the Right Thing once, and I think part of the thing I didn't like about Do the Right Thing the first time was I was confused about the ending a little bit, but after seeing this, I was like, okay, maybe I understood what it was going for. So, I mean, I definitely want to rewatch that one anyway, but I just thought it was interesting how these movies kind of parallel in some aspects. After that, I watched this 1980s Austrian film called Angst. Technically, it's called Angst. Yeah.
It's one that I've been interested in.
I was...
didn't give it that good of a review.
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed with it. I'd heard really good things. It's considered like one of the best serial killer movies like of all time. And it's definitely interesting. Cinematography is really good and utilizes narration really well because this story is told through the perspective of the killer, but he never actually talks. You just hear like the narration are his thoughts within his things going on. So I really like how it employed narration and how the story was told, because it's only like I think 80 minutes or something like that, and it's essentially him coming out
75, even less.
Yeah, it's essentially him coming out of jail and looking for his next victim, right? And it's based on a true story as well, which makes it even more captivating. I just I don't even remember, like I can't even remember what I didn't like about it because I've kind of forgotten about it already. Sure. Let me check real quick. Because the lead performance was really good. The supporting cast was really bad.
Oh, okay.
Because, like I said, the story's interesting. The filmmaking's good. The cinematography is really good, and I liked the way it uses narration and all. But I just got no emotion whatsoever from the victims. So I honestly, like, while I was watching it, I didn't care that they were being killed.
No.
I mean,
yeah.
Like, there were scenes where, like, you'd think a normal person would be freaking out, and they're just kind of... I mean, like, I get, shock and being so scared you can't do anything, but the performances were so unrealistic, unbelievable, like unconvincing in that sense in this situation, that it didn't translate any sort of sympathy for them very well at all. And then when the ending comes around, there's another big reveal that relies on the supporting characters' reactions, and they're again so stale that you don't get that punch or impact that the ending is going for.
Interesting.
So I don't know. I just found it rather disappointing. The lead, however, is really good, and the violence is surprisingly graphic for
83.
For 83, yeah.
But it's European too, so European's always been kind of the forefront of a lot of like modernistic art too.
Sure. So yeah, I mean, it definitely wasn't bad. I just was disappointed, I guess, from the hype that I had built up for myself. After that, I rewatched The Lighthouse with my roommate. It was his first time seeing it. He really enjoyed it. And I thought it got a little bit better. Knowing some of the interpretations and theories that people had going around, going into the movie with those in mind makes it a lot more interesting to watch, I think. Sure. However, I do think the theater experience was definitely like how you should see that movie, just because of the aspect ratio and the sound and the image and all, because the black and white is absolutely stunning. And I mean, the performances are incredible. So it's one of those movies I think I just need to see again and again to try and get everything out of it. But I thought like this time around, especially, I thought it was it was better paced than I remembered. After The Lighthouse, I rewatched The Artist, which won Best Picture in 2012. I honestly think it's a phenomenal movie. Lots of people consider it one of the weaker Best Picture winners of the 2010s. But honestly, after rewatching it especially, this is probably one of my favorite movies of the 2010s. It's an homage and tribute to silent films.
Yeah.
And the transitioning to sound. It's very much similar to Singing in the Rain. However, it's the way I don't know how I'm trying to say this. The way the story is told through the filmmaking and style is really interesting. I would just recommend you check it out, because I don't know how to explain it any clearer.
Sure.
It's good. It's really good. Performance, especially by his name is Jean Dujardin, is really charming, and you really feel for the guy. After The Artist, I watched The Descent, which has been on the watch list for a while. It's
is that the cave one?
Yeah.
Yeah, they go down to the cave. They like descend through like the layers of hell and shit.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
No, it's the aliens.
Above
Like
to below.
I'm thinking of I'm thinking of
that's above to below. They're like humanoid creatures.
Alien little things.
Yeah. It's been called one of the better horror movies of the mid 2000s. So, and it's like, it was received well by critics and audiences. So I was like, okay, I'm going to check it out. And I was really let down by it.
It's all right.
The first hour was actually really good. I really liked the atmosphere they set up. I loved the performances and the dynamic they had of the group. And the cinematography is great.
I was going to say, dude, the camera work and the claustrophobia that they make you feel is pretty great, actually.
Yeah, the lighting, especially in the cave sequences and all. And yeah, that sense of claustrophobia, because I don't like tight spaces, and just watching it was giving me anxiety. But then the movie just falls apart in its third act. It gets so bad, so cliche in its genre, like horrible, ridiculously stupid character decisions, lots of cliches. I think the biggest turnoff for me was there's a tonal switch. Once you figure out what's going on, it stops being this atmospheric horror movie, like with a little bit of creature feature thrown in the mix, and it just becomes this full-on superhero / revenge thriller. Because, I mean, like, these normal people, sure, they're experienced in like cave. What do you call it? Cave diving.
Cave diving. Yeah.
Sure, they're experiencing that, but they start just going ham on these creatures who are superior in like every aspect of them, especially in their own environment. And it was just so unrealistic and unbelievable, and it was kind of annoying.
There's a second one too.
There's a second one.
Oh.
I was initially thinking of watching both of them, but then I saw that the second one was reviewed much worse than the first one, and I didn't like this first one, so I was like, yeah, no.
Yeah, probably not.
But yeah, I was really disappointed by the third act. The third act honestly ruined the whole movie for me, because not only like do they go superhero mode against these things that they're fighting, but there's this subplot involving the protagonist and essentially the antagonist that feels so cheesy and hacked on, and it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And then the ending goes for it's just a mess. It's just a mess. By the end of the movie, I was wanting to end it. It was so bad. It was so bad. The ending really ruined it. So after I watched a bad movie, I decided to rewatch another bad movie.
Yeah, you started your review off with, why did I choose to watch this? I just look at the poster and I'm like, Colin, why did you choose to watch this?
So, okay, I've employed a certain organizational like list structure of how I watch movies now. It's you're
pulling out a spreadsheet of, okay, so day one I rewatched something that I like. Day 4 I watch a purposely bad movie, followed up by a bad horror movie.
So, all right. So sometimes I will, this is an aside, this is quick aside. Sometimes I'll just like sit on my floor and look at the big stack of Blu-rays I have and have no idea what I want to watch. And it's annoying. Or I'll go on Netflix and I'll just scroll through my list. And I'm like, I don't know what to watch. So I made a list. I start off with something in my physical collection. Then I go to Amazon. Then I go to Netflix. Then I go to Tubi, Disney Plus. You get the idea.
I appreciate this list. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So that's after I watched The Descent, which was on Tubi. I was going to Disney Plus, and I was just like, you know what? Let's rewatch Old Dogs.
Why?
I don't know, man. It's bad, but I mean, like it's watchable bad. It's not like bottom tier or anything, and it's a completely harmless movie that sure, it wasted my time, but whatever. I mean, John Travolta and Robin Williams honestly make the movie somewhat tolerable. Same with Seth Green. Seth Green was actually the funniest part of the movie. I was surprised by how stacked a cast this movie actually has. because you got Matt Dillon in a very small role, Bernie Mac in a cameo role, Dax Shepard. Who else? Justin Long is hilarious in a small cameo role, and Luis Guzman is also in here. So
very strange.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I actually remember seeing this movie back in theaters with my grandma and brother, except I didn't remember anything from it. So when rewatching this, I'm not gonna lie, I laughed a few times, like a handful of times, just because it's bad. But like,
so what you're saying is it's a masterpiece.
What I'm saying is you guys should definitely check out Old Dogs. And we can have a great in-depth discussion next week.
Hey, one more full rotation. Next pick from college.
Is it cinema?
Oh yeah, it's cinema.
All right, move on.
Yes. So after my great escape into Old Dogs, I decided to watch Patty Jenkins' feature debut, Monster, the biopic about Aileen Wuornos, the first American serial killer, first female American serial killer.
Charlize Theron's Oscar win too.
Right. Yeah, and I was pretty let down by this. Charlize Theron's good. I wouldn't say Oscar worthy. But I still have yet to be impressed with Patty Jenkins' direction and especially her writing. Of course, she hasn't done much. She's only done this.
Yeah, hasn't she done like 2 other films?
Yeah, I mean, she's done this, Wonder Woman. She's going to do Wonder Woman 84, and then a couple short films.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Which is still kind of mind blowing that.
A big gap from her feature too.
Exactly.
She's doing nothing.
I mean, I don't know if she did TV or anything, but
maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. But the weird thing is, like, she was hired to direct Thor: The Dark World, so I don't know why. Yeah. I mean, I guess that was directly off of Monster, but. Because that was like much closer in terms of like what? Because Monster was
2003.
But yeah,
so that was pretty.
That's 10 years.
She was a director on Arrested Development. She directed a bunch of Netflix shows apparently.
Okay, so she's
still not all too much. She has 13 director credits on IMDb, and a couple of them are short films.
Yeah. Okay, so I mean, like the story's undoubtedly interesting, right? The story of the first female American serial killer, especially here in Florida. Like, she's from Daytona Beach, and she actually killed a couple people, like back where I'm from on the Gulf Coast.
Wow.
So I had, of course, heard of the story, but I didn't know much of it. And it takes an odd way of framing the story. It's more of a romance than anything, which I thought was an interesting take.
Yeah, that definitely sounds interesting.
It focuses more on her relationship with a woman she meets, like right before she starts going on this killing spree. And I appreciated like the way Patty Jenkins was writing it, the way it was to go, the way the plot was going, but it just didn't work, because you don't really get much of the interesting stuff. And I guess much of the interesting stuff is I wanted to understand her mind and where she was at when she was killing people. And you don't really get a lot of that. There's not a lot, but it uses narration. And it uses narration in the wrong way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a lot of exposition. And rather than showing some of this stuff, you're just told it. And so it doesn't give you that emotional resonance like it could have, because it just focuses on her life, like at the age right before she was caught. You don't get any of the stuff that happened to her as a kid. You don't get any of the stuff that happened to her as a teenager or anything like that. It's just you hear all that from narration, which was kind of disappointing. And then when it was framed just as more of a romance film, which, by the way, tonally wise, it doesn't always work. There's some odd, like lighthearted, kind of bright and cheery moments within that romance, which I guess are trying to be more humanistic and for you to sympathize with her, but it just didn't work. I just didn't like the movie. And honestly, Patty Jenkins' direction, it's nothing special, from what I've seen in these couple movies. You know, it's competent, but it's not great. So disappointed by that. Then I watched a movie called A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, which is an Iranian film. It's a black and white vampire horror romance, which may throw you off a little bit because when you hear vampire romance, you immediately think of Twilight. But I assure you, this was nothing like Twilight. It was actually really good. It was really atmospheric.
Love those Twilight films.
Now that's cinema, right? Hey,
yeah.
Twilight or Old Dogs? The big debate.
Man, that's tough. Probably a tie. They're both like 10 out of 10 masterpieces.
See, I haven't seen Twilight movies, so
neither have I, honestly.
Okay.
Nor do I have an interest in it.
Sebastian, have you seen the Twilight films?
I've seen all of the Twilight films multiple
Why?
times.
Multiple times.
Because I've read all the books.
Have you seen Old Dogs?
No.
No, that's where you're missing out.
That's where you're missing out, man.
No, I honestly don't mind the Twilight movies and the books, but that's just me. So.
Yeah, I mean they don't seem bad. I just don't really.
No,
have any interest in them.
they get pretty redundant as they go on, but I mean, I think
Sure.
the first Twilight movie is actually like pretty good in my opinion. But
Yeah.
you know, that's just me. I want to get into it.
I have no interest in seeing them, so I'll just take your word for it. So anyway, Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. It's really good, really atmospheric. It's a slow burn, but it's a really well-paced slow burn. I love the black and white cinematography here, and the performances are really good. The use of music in the film is also really good. They use a lot of Western songs, which I found interesting since it's in an Eastern setting. But I mean, the only thing I really wanted was more substance to the setting here, because they make out to be like the city they're in is this really dark and seedy, mysterious place. You don't see a lot of it, and so I think by the end I just wanted a bit more substance to not only the city around them, their environment, but also some of the supporting characters, especially. But it's definitely an unconventional romance and an unconventional horror movie at that. It has its scares, but it also has its like tender moments that really worked. I'd recommend it. It's pretty good. And then I finished it out with a rewatch of The Wailing yesterday.
We'll get into that later.
Yeah, in a little bit.
All right, I guess it's my go. I started the week off with a film that I've been looking to watch for a little bit, and I finally got the time to watch it. I watched My Own Private Idaho, which I didn't love. I honestly liked it, but I think it had its issues, but I want to bring this up. Colin, you said that your dad likes this film?
Yeah.
Quite a bit. That's hilarious to me because this is like the opposite of a conventional dad movie I've ever seen.
I haven't seen it, so I have no input.
Do you have any idea on what it's about?
Isn't Keanu Reeves in it?
Yeah, Keanu Reeves and River Phoenix.
That's literally all I know.
That's one of the main reasons I wanted to watch it, was because I wanted to watch a River Phoenix movie. And I'm planning on watching oh god.
Stand By Me?
Thank you. I'm planning on watching Stand By Me soon. But it's about gay strippers, Colin. So you might want to check up on your dad. That's a dumb joke. But
yeah.
Honestly, well, no, because I know you married blah blah blah. It's a dumb joke. Stop clapping, Sebastian. Don't look at me.
Thomas, we don't need to waste more time on this joke.
Okay, that's very fair. But I had a lot of the same problems I had with like Blue Velvet on this one, where it was like kind of a nonsensical. It was very it's very surreal, but it's at the same time trying to be grounded. And I found a couple issues in that. Where in Blue Velvet, I really enjoyed it. I didn't really enjoy it. I enjoyed Blue Velvet for its direction and for like is writing too, and for this I really enjoyed the characters that they portrayed, where I feel like that the direction itself and the writing could have a couple touch-ups, but it kept me enjoyed at the very least. And then I watched The Vast Night, which you guys talked about last week we went in pre-deaths there. I won't really add much. I really enjoyed it. We made a joke really early on into the podcast about how it was time for indie filmmakers to have their chance in the Academy. And I'm calling it Vast of Night cinematography nod at the Academy. You've heard it here first.
It's good.
It seems very likely that's going to be nominated this year.
I really wouldn't be surprised.
The only issue with the cinematography I see is the lighting. The lighting is it needs some work in that movie, but
it had some really creative cinematography.
Yeah, the long tracking shots too. I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
it was a good film. You guys talked about.
Didn't he like get someone like on a car, or was it like a bike or something? I forget.
It was like a little buggy. You know,
yeah.
Things called dirt. No, dirt. I don't know. One of those
little dune buggies.
Buggy. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, good film.
That's pretty cool.
And then I watched Do the Right Thing, which I mean, that's just there's so much style in that movie, right? And we obviously talked about it there, and that's just what makes it so special for me. I think the only real issues with it is that there's some points of dialogue which I don't find fantastic, and with Colin's main issue with that, I don't think we've talked about on the podcast, but you bring up a lot that you think it drags away from the characters a bit too often, and I can see that. That's definitely something that I don't love about it. But just how every single character, it just is so themselves. It's pretty fantastic. But yeah, good film. I think we definitely touched up enough on it through Noah. And then speaking of Noah, I watched Stop Making Sense.
Oh, I forgot about this.
I enjoyed, but I felt like I kept hearing that it was something that transcended being a concert film and like became its own piece of filmmaking. Where for me, it felt like it was just a really good concert film that was really well shot. Like I don't think it's like bloody brilliant. I wouldn't call it a masterpiece. But
you don't think it's bloody brilliant? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I don't know. It's
okay, you know what? I'm gonna make fun of you for that. Normally I wouldn't, but you're making fun of something I like. So
I'm not making fun of it. I'm adding my own input.
No, okay, whatever.
But it's good.
I haven't seen it, but it is it's in the Letterboxd like top 100 or something like that.
Yeah. It's not something that I'd call a masterpiece. It's not even something that I just like sit down and be like, yeah, this is what I want to rewatch. Like it's something that I'd put on the side while I'm doing like work or something, right?
Oh yeah.
Because I guess part of it's also for me, and I feel like Sebastian too. Maybe if you watch this, like I don't really like concert films because I've gone to a lot of shows, right? And like for concerts, for me, it's a lot about the energy of being there, just seeing it. And like if I was there, that's probably be like my favorite performance I've ever seen. And I'm sure it's like everyone that was there's like favorite performance ever. But just as a film itself, it's a really good show. I wish I was there.
Totally agree. I'd rather be at a show than watching a show. But if I'm watching a show, it's a show that I never will ever be able to attend.
That's a good point.
I mean, you won't be able to attend a Talking Heads show.
Yeah,
that's what time they're for, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like the only thing I really have to say about that is, and I'm not trying to convince you at all. I'm just saying, like the reason that I like it is, I don't know, and I guess I haven't seen that many concert films either, or been to that many concerts. But I kind of feel the opposite, where I feel like it really does draw me in, and it just, and again, like I'm really not trying to convince you. I'm just saying, like the reason I like it is because like I really just like lose myself for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
It's just pure distilled energy, and like there is sort of a plot, but not really, and only like in the way that the songs progress.
I felt it like they had a chance because, and this is kind of silly. It was probably just her looking over, but like the bassist, I don't know her name by memory, but she would like look over at the different people as they came on the stage and have different reactions. I was like, oh, what if they like do something with here? And there's like a narrative within the concert itself, and I was excited, and then didn't really feel like it went anywhere. But sure. I see what you're saying. It just wasn't really my thing.
Yeah, and I think it's really up to whether you like the music or not, which, I mean,
I like the music.
I was going to say, I don't know if you do, but I think it also grows for me each rewatch. And just to, touch on what you said, I think a narrative, even if you can't necessarily vocalize what the narrative is, I think a narrative does become stronger every time you rewatch it. And I'm not even saying you need to rewatch it, or you should rewatch it or whatever. I'm just saying, like, this is my personal experience with it and why I like it so much. And also, like, I can either put it on and lose myself to it, or I can be, like, doing work and just, like, I'll get bored, and then I'll put on Stop Making Sense in the background, and then I'll, like, do some more work. and it works out well for me.
That's fair. I could definitely see it as even something. Maybe like I'd rewatch it to have it in the background while I'm doing work, but I would never watch it as like a standalone thing for me personally. I'd rather just watch a feature. But after that, I followed up with Ocean's 11, which was a good heist film. I just wish I got more out of the characters. I think I'm going to compare this to Inception in a sense, and they're very different films. But Inception, like, it's kind of similar in how it really throws you in, but I feel like it establishes its characters better in like the character of Cop and like everyone else. Where this, it's just like, hey, George Clooney, he's the robber. You don't see what he's done. You don't understand him. Brad Pitt, handsome robber. I mean, they're both good-looking dudes, but
you need to watch Ocean's 8 then, my friend.
Did you prefer it, or do you really not like it?
No, I was just saying, if that's one of your complaints, boy, oh boy, you need to watch Ocean's 8.
Yeah, Ocean 8 sucks.
All right.
Honestly, I'm not a big fan of any of the Ocean's films, really.
Yeah.
The first one's the best. But have any of you guys seen the original Ocean's 11 film?
No, I'm not.
No.
It's actually, I mean, in my opinion, it's really bad. You know, take that as well. It has Frank Sinatra and, you know, the Rat Pack and all, but...
Yeah.
You know, they can sing, but
I saw it when I was looking at Ocean's 11 to rent it on Amazon, but I don't know. I don't have that much interest in watching it. But the heist itself is really enjoyable, and I really like how it plays out. And then I rewatched Uncut Gems.
Quickly. Okay. Sorry, I just wanted to say, I don't know, you just went on really quickly.
Sorry.
I really like Ocean's 12. I like Ocean's 11, obviously, but I really like 12, and I think it gets a lot more metatextual. And like the plot's a lot more convoluted, but there's a lot less of it, or at least like a lot less time devoted to it. And I think it really, I mean, for the reasons that you dislike Ocean's 11, I think you might dislike Ocean's 12 because it really gives you even less with the characters. Yeah. It's just more like characters doing things, and like the plot gets kind of.
Sorry. Yeah. Is that the one with Vincent Cassel?
I don't know who that is. Maybe
the French, the antagonist. You see the French guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he is. I don't remember if he's French, but yeah, it's like a European guy.
All right.
What else has he been in? Because I remember liking him in that. Okay, no, sorry, Thomas, continue.
Yeah, and then I rewatched Uncut Gems, but I watched it with my mom since she wanted to watch Adam Sandler in
But did your mom like it?
She actually said she enjoyed it, but I mean, it was that same thing. She got the experience of the film. I'd look over at her face and she was mortified.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just upped it. Like when I reviewed it from when I saw it in theaters, I gave it a 4.5. I just upped it to the 5 out of 5. I found it a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Like throughout the whole fucking film, my leg couldn't stop shaking, right? And it was fantastic. It was so stressful. It really just caught me. Fantastic film.
Was this your second time seeing it?
Yes.
Okay.
It was number 2. And then speaking of rewatching a film a lot, I rewatched Punch Drunk Love. All right, enough on Punch Drunk Love. I've talked about enough. I do love that film, though. I was about to go on a tangent about Punch Drunk Love. And then I watched The Wailing. I actually watched it yesterday. I usually watch the films the day of, but I watched it at night because, you know, horror. I probably didn't even bring that up. Yeah. And then I finished the week up with Leave No Trace, which is a Thomas McKenzie. Well, it's a Deborah Granick. It's Thomas McKenzie's breakout role. It also has Ben Foster in it. And I mean, it was fantastic. It kind of deals a lot with like the themes of like always needing to move forward and being like resistant to something staying the same. And it dealt a lot with like mental illness and a lot of barren topics. I mean, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've wanted to see it. Amazon, right?
It is actually on Amazon. Thought I would need to rent it, but got lucky about that part. It definitely does just show a comparison of how that can deal with and how that can affect the child. And honestly, it's a sappy and it's an emotional movie, but it's really great at being that and knows what it is. I will say it has a lot of scenes with bees and like deals with like a beekeeper, and I'm absolutely terrified of bees. And
not
they're like,
the bees,
not the bees, practically. But they were like holding the bees on their hands, and I was like getting squirmish. And they're like, "Look, they're nice." I was like, "What the fuck are you doing? Stop!" Good movie though. That's a dumb little nitpick. That's just me being a little bitch.
That just makes me think. how do you feel when you watch a B movie?
Oh, well, that transcends thought. I lose myself. I am a bee.
Thinking B. Thinking B.
Yeah, of course.
Classic.
Now, I get to speak about what I watched this week.
The glasses are off.
The glasses are off. I mean business. So this week, I think I probably watched the most movies I've watched in a week in a long time because I had a lot of free time this week and I was very bored. So I'll start off. I watched a lot of awful horror movies this week, and it's a guilty pleasure of mine to just watch really bad horror movies because, I find some enjoyment out of watching just god-awful horror movies. So I'll start off with those. I only watched 2 this week. So I watched Assimilation, which was it was a ripoff, I guess. I mean, it is a ripoff of like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but it was just like updated. It had like a lot of like really dumb plots and subplots and really annoying character decisions as per every horror movie ever made. And it was pretty awful, but it was also very enjoyable to watch everything go down. And the ending was pretty great. Just to watch that movie and then get to the ending, it was pretty great because it was the most like big fuck you, waste of time, 2 hours like of all time. I mean, can I say it? Because I know no one's going to watch the movie here.
Sure.
Was this from last year?
Was it all a dream?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
So it's literally
looked it up.
2019. It's basically just like it's literally Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which is like one of my favorite like old school like I guess you could say horror movies, sci-fi horror, and like it was just a blatant ripoff of it. So the end of the movie, you have all the characters, and you don't really understand if like this invasion, because it's these little spores that fly down, and they basically make a clone copy of yourselves, and then that clone kills you and takes over your memories and whatever. So whatever. Anyway, at the end of the movie, it's just like, oh yeah, the whole world's been taken over. Oops, and that's it. So it just
it goes for the downer ending, but
it's just like oops. Yep, the whole world got taken over, and oops. So that was that. Great waste of time. Wasted 2 hours. Then I watched Polaroid, which, my God.
Oh my God, dude, that movie was supposed to come out in like 2016, and it came out like last year, I think.
Yeah, it did, and it reminded me of Countdown a little bit. No, seriously.
I can definitely see it.
It like. The plot moved almost the same way. It had the same type of characters. There was a lot of characters that just died because they had nowhere to go in the plot, so they just die. And then like the CGI was awful. The acting was really bad. Again, I got some enjoyment out of it because the characters were making really dumb horror movie decisions, which I love. I love the cliches, but it gets annoying. Okay, those were the really bad movies I watched this week. Then I watched It Follows, which I think is probably one of the best horror movies of recent years. I think it's fantastic. Soundtrack again. I think we've talked about it before, but watch it again. I think it's phenomenal. It's fantastic.
Good. Yeah, I like It Follows a lot.
Great concept, great soundtrack, great acting, great cinematography. There's nothing really I had bad to say about the movie. I think it's really enjoyable. I watched a concert film this week. Speaking of concert films, I watched King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizards, Chunky Shrapnel, which is their feature film debut, which was supposed to come out in the movie theater, but because of Corona, they released it online for $10. And I didn't pay the $10. I mean, I paid the $10, and I watched the film, and it was very enjoyable. It was, very well shot, actually, for a concert movie. I've seen a lot of concert films, and this one was like actually like the camera work is really good. Like I was actually really impressed. It was very good, and the music is.
Stop Making Sense.
No, because I don't like Talking Heads.
Oh, okay.
That's just me personally. So I mean, I'll probably watch it, but like because my girlfriend likes Talking Heads, so I'll probably watch it eventually. But I'm not a big.
I was gonna say don't watch it if you don't like Talking Heads. But if someone's gonna make you watch it, then
it's probably my girlfriend. But anyway, this movie was really good. If you like Gizzard, if you like psychedelic rock, it was a good time. It had a lot of behind the scenes stuff of them kind of just dicking around. I thought that was kind of funny, and not bad. Nothing crazy. It was just a nice. Took me out of it for a bit. I like that.
I looked it up. It's rated really well.
Chunky Shrapnel?
Yeah,
it was really good. I really enjoyed it. They're one of my favorite bands of current day rock. They're very good. Anyway, Black Klansman. I watched Black Klansman. I know you guys watched Do the Right Thing, but I haven't watched Do the Right Thing in a very long time. But I watched Black Klansman because my girlfriend wanted to watch it. and very odd movie to watch with your significant other, but it was good. We liked it. That was my only second time watching it, and honestly, I could have not have seen it again. It was, it's a good movie, but it's a movie I don't really like ever want to watch again. I got like the basic premise out of the first viewing of it, and I don't really have any other. I don't. It's one of those movies. It's like, yeah, I've seen all of it. I don't really need to see it again, in my opinion. So like, I don't know. Just kind of watching it the second time, I just kind of realized how meh it was. Like,
I liked
it. Okay,
I saw it for a second as well.
Yeah, it was. It's not bad, but like I knew all the twists and turns, and I knew kind of everything the movie had to offer, and it just didn't really do it for me the second time. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a good movie. It's just like, it's okay now that I've seen it twice, and again, nothing really to say much else about it. I think it's very relevant to talk about now, and good movie. I think Adam Driver's phenomenal in that movie, and John David Washington's really good, and that was when I kind of realized he had a very bright future ahead of him. So I'm very excited to see what he does in Tenet. I think he's very talented. I think he's a very talented actor. I watched The Goonies this week as well, and it's been a very long time since I watched The Goonies. I was joking around with some friends about it, and I was like, you know what? I haven't seen The Goonies in probably like 7 years. So I popped The Goonies in, and God, such a great movie, so enjoyable. I love it so much.
It's probably been over a decade for me. It's been forever.
Yeah, dude, it is.
Me too.
It is. Wow. It is. It was just as good as I remembered it as a kid. It was really good. Like, honestly, it was a little better than I remember it as a kid too. I guess now that I'm a little older, I appreciate just kind of being a kid a little bit more. But like, yeah, it got me crying a little bit. I don't know why, dude. It was really good. Anyway, Goonies, great movie. Yeah. So I watch also, keeping on the 80s theme, I watch both Back to the Futures. Again, yeah, I watch. Well,
2 out of 3 of the Back to the Futures.
I don't really like the third one, so I don't really like.
You don't acknowledge it?
Not really. Yeah. It's okay, but it's all right. I guess that's kind of an unpopular opinion. I don't really hear many people talk about Back to the Future 3. I really don't like Back to the Future 3. I think
I think a lot of people, I don't know if they don't necessarily like it or if it's just their least favorite, but I mean, it's certainly my least favorite, but I still kind of like it. I don't know.
Well, I still kind of like it a little bit, but like I just, I don't know. I think the first 2 are perfect, and I just didn't. Yeah. The third one's just got a lot of, I don't know. I just don't like it. But anyway, watch both Back to the Futures. 3 I don't really care about, but anyway, I've seen Back to the Future 1 and 2. I cannot tell you how many times, and it never gets old for me. It's one of those timeless movies, and again, love it to death, and I think it's fantastic. And that ends it for the week. Besides the Wailing, which I guess we can start talking about now.
Yeah. Start with Colin's little thoughts. Colin's pick.
So I remember watching this movie for the first time. Right before, it was with a friend of mine. He was leaving for the Air Force, so this is like our last hoorah before he went off to basic. And he was like, "Let's watch a horror movie." Now this was back at the time where I didn't like horror at all, and I was like, "Okay." So I was like, "Ooh, what about this? This sounds interesting." So we put on The Wailing, and it scared the crap out of both of us. This was right after high school graduation, so summer of 2016. And I don't know, it's just stuck in my head. Since then. And after rewatching it, I still really love it. I think it's a phenomenal film. It does really good at creating atmosphere. I think it does a really good job of blending tones and blending genres. I think the performances are fantastic. I really like the cinematography, especially the lighting and the setting they were able to utilize. Special effects, makeup, and all that I think are fantastic. And I haven't seen anything else from this filmmaker. He hasn't done a lot, but all of his films have been critically acclaimed. So I think it's great. I think that finale is super unsettling. And
the finale is easily the best part of that film.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I had to turn the lights on because
I actually did too.
Yeah,
it got me.
Yeah. It's spooky. Like top.
It was. I haven't seen that many foreign horror movies. I think Mostly of the foreign horror movies I have seen, most of them have been Korean. Korean just horror. It's just I don't know. They've got something different working over there. I really like Train to Busan. I think that's really fantastic.
They're
There's
releasing
lots of
in
them.
theaters too.
I know.
Train to Busan for the sequel.
I love it. Yeah, no, dude. I really this movie was fantastic. I loved every second of it. I thought the performances were fantastic, especially from I forget specifically the character's name, but the guy that was wearing like the Nike jacket,
the shaman.
Yeah, the shaman.
Oh yeah.
He was wow. Like he was great. And then the Japanese man, he was he unsettled the fuck out of me the whole movie, dude.
I really like the child performance from the main character's daughter.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's one of the performances I've seen.
I actually don't really like the she does a fine job with it too, and she really gets into that character when she's like, I guess, possessed, right? When she's possessed.
Yeah.
But it feels so, I don't know. It feels weird for like I guess that's how it's supposed to be. But I just didn't like it. I wish they went like with a slightly different direction than her just being like, fuck you. Right? Wow, that was bad.
I feel like that was kind of a yeah, that was. Well,
yeah.
I think that was kind of an homage to The Exorcist because
Well, yeah, but I just wish it wasn't just so aggressive and was more creepy than her just like randomly developing a whole linguistic of random curse words to start spewing at her dad.
I don't know. I thought it was effective.
I thought it was pretty good too.
I didn't like it.
But yeah, my personal take.
But no, I it just reminded me because my dad used to tell me like Japanese like little like stories and like that, and I kind of perceived I don't really know like the lore I guess and all this with like everything going on in the movie, but I don't know, the Japanese guy kind of reminded me of like the Oni, like the stories like the Onis that my dad used to tell me about. He reminded me just like of Japanese demon. And I don't know if that's what he was supposed to be, but that's kind of what I perceived him as. He kind of reminded me of like an Oni. But no, I was really unsettled. I wouldn't say it unsettled me as much as like Hereditary did, but it like was really effective in everything it like really threw at me, and I loved every second of it. I definitely want to check out this guy's other stuff. I don't know if he only does horror movies, but
this is the only horror movie he's done.
That's a damn shame because he definitely. I really want another horror movie from this guy.
Yeah, I think the concept is one of the strongest parts of the movie. I love how it kind of deals with like those kind of 7 deadly sins too, because like watching it like it brings all that up, right? And I was able to find something for all 7, right? And I find that very interesting. And I reviewed it much lower than Colin, and I'm assuming that Sebastian's would be incredibly high from his high praise of it. But my main problem with it was that it often felt like it was meandering on a lot of shots and a lot of scenes, where it felt like it spent too much time there, right? It'd go off to like a different long shot and then go back to the close up, and it just felt like took too much time, and it was just incredibly long already, where I feel like a lot of it could be cut out.
I think I can see what you're saying. I can see how like someone would think it could get repetitive or meandering.
Well, I don't find it repetitive. I think it spends too much time on the same things, right?
Okay.
It has different ideas. But it just spends too much time on specific scenes. Like, I think it's like trying to just capture like the beauty of like the scenery and like the setting itself. Maybe not the beauty, but like just the setting. But didn't really work for me. And then my other slight issue with it would be the zombie scene. The main one, I guess, because the other ones are definitely zombies, but I just don't see the inclusion of that as necessary.
You're talking about the one behind the Japanese man's house?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't find that necessary, where a lot of it was just like, it was horror from afar, where this became very like personal, like up close, like the zombie was like really, it became like physical horror in a sense, where the rest of it was very much visual. The only other comparison I guess would be the jump on in the start where he's investigating the burnt down house. Yeah, that definitely could be there, but I don't know. I just didn't find that necessary. I didn't see why that needed to be there.
I can understand that. Yeah, I think some of the like, it kind of that's what I meant by like it blends a lot of genre and because there are certain elements like especially in the beginning, it's very comedic at times, which I think is a common thing that lots of Eastern films do. After watching Parasite, Memories of Murder, Battle Royale, and stuff like that. They have an interesting way at handling humor in more dramatic moments. I found that kind of interesting. But also, it kind of makes you think this is going to be not necessarily a zombie picture, but maybe a monster movie at times, essentially. And then it begins to throw in more supernatural elements, more religious elements, and it becomes more supernatural and atmospheric in that sense. I don't know. I thought it worked. It never felt overlong or slow. I thought the 2.5 hours flew by.
Me too.
It's just me.
Yeah, I just think that at some points, if it just kept going rather than staying on a scene, it would have definitely kept me in. But meandering. I'll say it again. Noah, I know you reviewed it really lowly, and your whole review, your whole review itself was just Spike Lee
not
saying,
your cup of tea.
Not my cup of tea. But
I mean,
I'm interested if you have like any other thoughts on why you didn't enjoy it.
No, I mean, like, I honestly agree with most of what you all are saying. Honestly, like, I just really don't like. It's not even that I don't like horror. It's just that I don't like unsettling horror. Like Mother and Hereditary have been on my long. Like, I just really never want to watch these, and like, I think I could go my entire life without watching.
See, those are some of my favorite horror movies.
Yeah,
enough.
Right. Like, and honestly, my favorite movies are like The Thing and Evil Dead, like really campy horror movies that aren't even really that scary. They're just like very goofy and weird.
Yeah.
And like, it definitely, this movie was definitely very, like, beautiful. I definitely noticed that. And I do think the plot was interesting. I don't know. I like the main thing. I mean, like, obviously it wasn't my cup of tea, like I said.
Sure, yeah.
But I just don't like how, I guess, depressing it was in a sense. And I was like, I mean, I know it's only going to get worse.
Yeah.
And the runtime really didn't do any favors. I mean, I don't even necessarily.
If you're not like vested in it.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Exactly. Then it's going to feel longer.
And I don't even. I don't know. Like, some of the points that Thomas brought up were interesting because I don't even necessarily agree that it was super meandering, especially during scenes. I thought that was handled kind of well, but I just like I lost interest just because I don't know. Like, I don't really like.
Yeah, it's just not your thing. Yeah, which is completely fair. Maybe a little too harsh on the rating, in my opinion, but you know.
Whatever. I mean,
it doesn't even matter.
I just like really rate movies on Letterboxd based on my enjoyment. Like, very rarely will I end up giving like more than a 2.5 to something that I just didn't like.
Yeah, and I mean that is the number anyway.
Yeah, you really don't need to watch Hereditary then if you didn't really like this movie.
Yeah.
Or Mother. Yeah, I mean I think Mother's a masterpiece, but
I think I would dislike Mother much worse than I dislike Hereditary.
Yeah.
I don't know. Hereditary has like the same kind of build up as this movie, in my opinion.
Okay.
It had like the same kind of like unsettling vibe.
I'd say Hereditary is more consistent in its horror element than this one is. This one, I really like how it's essentially a small village in distress. You know, stakes are escalated. And a police officer who really hasn't, a whole police station who really hasn't had to deal with things like this before. As you can tell, they're put in a situation like, gee, what the heck is going on? And I like how the whole village feels this, and it's, you know, it's everywhere. Everyone's a part of it. Everyone's wondering what the heck's going on. You know, tensions increase, and especially when it comes personal for the main character. I think it's a really good way of humanizing a crazy situation. Of course, this, you know, is exaggerated since it's supernatural in that sense, but I think it does a really good job of emphasizing the drama that would ensue in something as chaotic as it is.
I agree. I guess you brought up like comparisons to Hereditary, and they're both obviously different films. But I adore Hereditary, but I'd honestly like take this film's ending over Hereditary's. I like Hereditary a lot more, and I think the build up towards Hereditary's ending is a bit, maybe not even more well done. I just like that section where
it has a bigger of an impact in Hereditary too.
Yeah, because maybe not more. I mean, personal.
The whole but like
honestly, maybe more personal because of the mainstay family ties, and it really stays within the family. But same with the child. I think that just mainly goes back to my main complaint about this film. But man, that ending, the way it balances like the thought between the new edition of the woman in the white, and like how that battles with the shaman and the Japanese man, and just all the multiple lines going through when you see the shaman and you see them in the house and you see the priest going up towards the Japanese man. It just, that ending is fantastic, and
it plays with
really,
emotions and it plays with expectations
really
a lot.
Scared the shit out of me. Like that ending is crazy.
The reveal in the cave, that's I mean,
it's.
I mean, I knew it was coming, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna brave through this. And then I was like, oh, shoot, I just felt like the atmosphere creeping up. I mean, I knew it was coming, so I was like, I gotta turn the lights on. Ugh.
Yeah. The last time I watched Hereditary, the ending didn't scare me as much, but I feel like that had to do with the rewatch. But as you're describing, it still really, really got you. So
yeah.
I mean, that makeup is creepy, and the makeup was definitely also a highlight of the film in general. Yeah. It was really well done.
One thing about the ending, and I think this kind of goes, well, like you said, with Hereditary and this film, both of them are ambiguous in doses. I think Hereditary is much more concrete than this one is, because this one has so many angles to it, which is one of the things I wanted to discuss with you guys. Like, the ending, I think, is very interpretive of the perception of true evil in this sense, because you have the Japanese man who you're told for the majority of the film is the bad guy, essentially. Yeah. And then you have the woman in white who remains this mysterious figure up until a certain point where she begins to bring in little bits of doubt. And so now you're wondering, okay, but then so she brings up about the shaman who is possibly in league with the Japanese man. And there are hints at all of them that like go in a certain argument, but then also deviate from a certain argument. Like, for example, the shaman at the end of the film, when he goes to the main character's house, he takes, I forgot what he
takes pictures of the bodies.
He takes a picture of the body, that's right. And then he puts them in that box. And when he drops the box, you realize those are the same pictures that the Japanese man claimed to have burned earlier in the film. And so you're wondering, okay, well, was the white woman telling the truth? But then you're not sure.
That was indicative of me. I felt very sure about the fact that the white woman was telling the truth and the shaman was working with the Japanese man there.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. I felt like it was, I don't know, I never felt quite 100%.
Yeah, I didn't either. I didn't feel like she was being 100% with it. But I also felt like the shaman was working with the Japanese man.
Yeah. Well, I actually appreciated that too, because maybe if it is that way and it is very ambiguous to some, maybe I'm just being very rash on my decision. But I appreciated that it really didn't leave the ambiguity to a shaman himself. I liked the fact that all those pictures dropped. And once he immediately started taking the pictures, I was like, oh, this is happening, because you see all those pictures in the shaman's house. Yeah. Or not the shaman's house. You see all the pictures in the Japanese man's house. And it was very indicative to the fact that they were working together, and that made sense to me.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But
no, I mean, I guess I definitely saw the parallels, but still, I think that's why the ending is so good, because it leaves you with just enough a doubt to where you're questioning, well, was the lady in white good or was she evil? Was the Japanese man evil? Well, he was the devil, but that's what the priest wanted to see. So was he actually a shaman? And then was the shaman actually the I don't know. I'm maybe like overlooking it too much, but
I was very set in stone, but I appreciate you bringing that up, because I can definitely see where you're coming from. And
I think it does a good job of
my idea too.
Setting up those different points of view for each three of those characters. I think it does. That's how you do a really good ambiguous ending without being like annoyingly ambiguous. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree. I hard agree on that point, especially on the annoyingly ambiguous, because I'm glad that they give you enough to the fact where you're like, okay, so I can have my idea.
Exactly. They give you enough where you can make your own interpretation. Leave some things open. What did you think of the ending, Noah? I mean,
I'm going to be completely honest. I did not finish it because at that point, I was like 2 hours, 10 minutes in, and I had read, or at least like skimmed both of your reviews, and you were like, oh yeah, and the ending is like really unsettling and really scary. And I was like, well, if I don't like the movie and the ending's gonna scare the shit out of me, then like I don't really see any need to watch it. So I did like look up the plot synopsis on Wikipedia, but I mean I don't really have one feeling towards it one way or the other.
That's a little disappointing, but
I mean,
I get that.
If you're not into horror, you're not into horror.
Like I honestly probably would have liked the movie a little bit more if I finished it. Like I'm not, gonna lie, but I don't think I would have left it or anything.
Maybe you should visit those last 20 minutes whenever you get the chance.
Yeah,
why not?
Even in the morning,
its own standalone thing.
Yeah, watch it in the morning. Where it's light.
Have your cup of coffee right next to you.
Yeah, no, and I was like already 2 hours in, and I was like, wow, I did not enjoy the past 2 hours, and I still have like half an hour left, or however long it was. So yeah, if it's just 20 minutes, I might just watch it. I don't know.
That can make or break a movie. I mean, for me personally, I've watched like a lot of movies that are like really boring up until like the last 30 minutes. I'm like, oh wow, that was worth it.
But I think if you're like really not enjoying something, even a good ending isn't gonna make it like fantastic.
Oh no, man! Like I mean, when I first saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I wasn't really sure if I liked it because I thought like it was really boring. And then up until like the last half an hour, I was like, wow, that last half an hour was pretty great. That was worth the whole build up to that. And then I saw it like 10 more times and I was like, you know what? It's better each time. So
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I don't know. I enjoyed the whole part of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I would definitely agree that the ending is a standout. But I don't know. I couldn't think of a single movie where I was like, wow, I really did enjoy all of this. And then the ending was really good. And I was like, oh, wow, this makes it really good.
That was really the first time that really happened to me because I was there opening out with my friends and I was actually like really bored. I'm like, where, like this isn't a Tarantino movie. I'm like, where is this going? And then like the last half an hour, I'm like, that's a Tarantino movie.
Yeah,
that's what I came here for.
That's exactly how I felt in the theater.
Yeah. And then I've seen it multiple times since, and I've come to appreciate it. I think it probably is it's one of my favorite Tarantinos. I'd say probably my third or second. I really do adore it the more I watch it. But so do you guys think you know what my pick for this next podcast is going to be?
I had a guess.
Let's say our guesses here.
Okay, you want to go ahead, Thomas?
Sure. All right. So you mentioned really early in the podcast, or like maybe wasn't that even that long ago, but you talked about your pick having been The Last Jedi because you want us to all rewatch it and have a discussion about it. No. So my no. All right. Well, I'm just wrong then.
Well, mine is similar. It's a Rian Johnson movie. You actually this was.
Oh, I forgot about.
Your guess is Looper?
It's Looper. Yeah,
because and we're doing Looper. We are doing Looper.
All right.
It's time to revisit Mr. Rian Johnson's masterpiece, in my opinion. I think it's his. I think it's his best movie. I think it's really good.
That's so funny. I think it's his. Like, I still like it, but it's my least favorite movie of his. But yeah, we'll talk about it next week.
No, I think it's.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, again, I think it's his best movie.
I still like it, right, Noah? Because Noah's on the train of really likes The Last Jedi, and I'm honestly, based on my watch of it, it's been really long, but I walked out of the theater enjoying it.
So it's half and half on.
Have you not seen it?
I haven't seen it since it came out in theaters now.
Weird.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I mean, we can talk about this next week, but like, I don't know, like, I have a very personal attachment to Star Wars, so my perception of The Last Jedi is like, I hate it because I hate it. But
I'm not a fan of it either.
Yeah, but I've come to appreciate more since Rise of Skywalker. So
yeah, well, I think almost everybody has. I mean, it's almost impossible not to.
Yeah, but no, Looper. I think it's a very interesting movie. I think it's one of my favorite time travel movies as well. I think it's a very compelling concept. I know Colin hasn't watched it, which is kind of why I want Colin to watch it because it's pretty surprising knowing that this man would go on to create one of the biggest controversial like movies ever. So I really like it. I think it's time for us to watch it. I think it's very good.
All right. Sounds good. Good cast, guys.
So, yeah, with that, I guess we wrap up the 10th installment in the Post Pro podcast. Yeah, double digits. All right. So
yeah, we did it.
We did it.
Next week, we'll talk about Looper.
All right.
Signing out.